Hi, this is Kevin Trainer. Welcome to my tutorial on um, doing the tutorials from the Vincent textbook using the tool set that we're using for my IS 439 course. And I'm recording this in the uh, uh, just before the beginning of the spring 2024 semester. And in that semester, the course that we're using, the book that we're using, is Django for Beginners by William Vincent, and the version that's revised for Django 4.2. Um, we're using it with Django 4.1 because that's a version in the current day that works well with all of our tools and behaves properly. And the differences between 4.1 and 4.2 aren't really going to bother us. Um, Now, the versions that we use for the software are ones that we used when we created our virtual environment for this course. And that's the last of the tutorials that I recorded. And if you haven't done that, we'll go back and do that. And that's based on a document called Instructions for Tool Version Installation in Virtual Environments. And this is the version for spring 2024. And when we created the virtual environment that we're going to be using, we called it E for Trainer Django course. And for the spring of 2024, we used Python 3.11 and Django 4.1, and we threw in a PyTest for good luck. Now, if you're taking this in a later semester, like a year from now, well, you're going to be using different versions of things, and you'll find that in the document. And of course, when we created E4 Trainer Django course, we would have put the proper versions in. Okay? Alrighty. So, Django for Beginners is a great book, and we're going to be, let's take a look at the table of contents. We're going to be using chapter one. This is the bulk of what I'm going to be going through here in this video. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through chapter one. I'm going to talk about an issue or two out of chapter two, but we're not going to do it. Okay, and so chapter one we'll do together here in the video. Chapter two we'll do it just a little bit of. Uh, and generally, chapters 2, 3, 4, and 5 are chapters that you can decide to do on your own. Okay, you can either do them or not. Um, the assignment that you're going to have is to do the tutorial for the blog app in chapter 6. Okay, so chapter 6 you're going to have to do chapters 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, you figure how much of that you want to do on your own, and chapter 1 we'll do together here. Okay, so let's go to chapter 1 and take a look. Okay, and this book is oriented towards working at the command line, and that's not our set of tools, and that the gist of this tutorial that you're playing now is, well, just how would we do things with our tool set? Our tool set being working with PyCharm Professional. Okay, so he begins by talking about working at the command line, and we'll do some things at the command line, and then we'll do a lot of things with PyCharm Professional. Okay, so he kind of talks about the different versions of the command line, and he talks about the one for Mac OS, and I think he talks about the one for Linux, and then he talks about the one for Windows. Okay, um, this is the Windows version, so we're doing it here. And you should be able to try all these things, the Windows version, and they should behave about as um, he described. So what are we going to use for our command line shell and all that kind of stuff? Well, we've created this link or this icon for the Anaconda prompt. So we're going to click on that and open it up. And that's going to put us here. Okay. And so the things that are being done at the command line can be done right here. Okay. Um, Now he goes from here about how to install Python 3 on Windows, but we've already taken care of Python 3 because we have created a virtual environment using Anaconda that includes Python 3. Okay, so in fact, what's the virtual environment that we're using? Well, we're going to use E for Trainer Django course. So right now, the activated virtual environment is called base. So let's say conda. Oh, by the way, we have the conda cheat sheet that you should have either a link to the sheet in your weekly schedule or a link to a place to go to download the sheet. Okay, and the Conda cheat sheet is where I remind myself of all the commands. Okay, so if we want to activate E for Trainer Django course, we'll type conda space activate space E for Trainer, have to spell it right, Trainer Django course. Okay, and then for instance, we could type conda space list, enter, and we'd see all the packages, which include for Python, Python 3.11. So that's already installed, and Django 4.1 is already installed. Okay. So to come back to what the author is asking us to do, install Python 3 for Windows, we've already done it before we've gotten here, so we're fine. Okay. He talks about virtual environments, and he recommends that you use one called venv. And venv is a great old virtual environment, but we don't use it for two reasons. Reason one is that a lot of people in our school want to be working in data science, and a lot of data scientists use Anaconda to create their virtual environments, and I wanted to make sure that you knew how to do that. The other problem is when you create a virtual environment with VM, the typical way that people do that when they're working with Django, it becomes a part of your Django project. It's a sub directory under your Django project, and it just makes your Django project too big. When you zip it up and try to upload it to Canvas to submit your work, the file is just too big. Okay, so we're going to be using the Anaconda virtual environments and not what he's showing here. Um, he talks about the PI uh, infrastructure for installing Python packages. And that's not what we use when we create our virtual environments with Anaconda. Anaconda has its own uh, uh, infrastructure for packages, and whereas PyPI uses this installer called pip, um, we do the same thing with conda install. It is possible to use pip to install packages from PyPI into a conda virtual environment, and if that's necessary for the semester that you're in, for the course that you're in, I'll show you how to do that. But right now, we're not going to be doing that. Install Django. So again, here's how you would install Django, but we've already done it, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, creating your first Django project. So we created our first Django project when we created um, the Anaconda virtual env called E4 Trainer Django course. And we created that project using, um, we created that project using um, PyCharm. Okay. Now, um, uh, he shows us here the layout in terms of directories and files in a typical Django project. And what is interesting here, I guess, if you look at the bottom left, he called his project Django project, and then the configuration directory is also called Django project. But he created this not with a PyCharm professional, but he ran a program at the command line called Django admin, and then a sub command start a project, which um, created the directory and file layout under the Django project. Okay. Now, he even, like when we get to chapter 6, he calls the project something else. He doesn't call it the same thing that he calls the configuration directory. So I'm going to show you how to do that because you're going to have to know how to do that for um, chapter 6. But before that, I just want to point out that I just want to review how this works when you don't do it at the command line, if you do it in PyCharm. Okay, so let's look at this. So let's go to, the PyCharm projects are under the trainer one ID here. So if I do an ls, I'm sorry, not an ls. That's what we do in the Mac. If I do a dir, okay, you'll see that um, we have PyCharm projects as a subdirectory under our uh, our own home directory. Okay, and if we were to change the directory, make the current directory PyCharm projects, enter. Okay, you can see that gets at the end of our prompts. And if we do a dir, we can see that we have first test Python project and first Django test. And these are things that we created in previous tutorials. Okay, so that's where they are. They're just in the file system, right? Now, we can use PyCharm Let's fire that up. We can use PyCharm to create a new PyCharm project. And that's going to open soon, I hope. There it is. Okay. And we have our first Django test. So let's let's go up to the hamburger and click on that and say file new project. Okay, and again, it's going into PyCharm projects, and let's just call it second Django test. Okay, and remember this is in snake case. And we're not going to do anything with Git repositories or main.py welcome script. This is just a nuisance, the main.py welcome script. An interpreter type, we're going to pick custom environment. For environment, we're going to do select existing. For type, we're going to pick conda. Okay. Path to conda, it's going to take care of. And for environment, let's click on reload environments and pick E4 Trainer Django course. Okay, and click on create and give it, put it into this window. Okay, and there we go. Now go click on automatically here, I guess, and say yes. And Microsoft Defender is a bit of a nuisance. Okay, and let's look at this. Now we don't currently have our layout here for our project. I didn't see where we got to pick it. Oh, you know what? I don't think we ever said it was a Django project. Whoops. Let's try again. So let's close this and open again. My bad. So you see what can go wrong, right? All right. So click on the hamburger, file, new project. See Django project right there. Okay, and then we're going to call this third Django test project. Okay. And custom environment, select existing conda. It'll find conda, pick the environment, E4 Trainer Django course. This is what we didn't get access to the last time because we never said it was a Django project. I promise that'll happen to you too. Well, maybe not. Some people are more careful than me. But others aren't. So at least you see how that can go wrong. And these default settings are fine. So let's create it and put it in this window. And now you see what's going on, where it's really generating the Django file structure. Yep, now we're starting to see the files have been generated. Okay, and this is, and so this configuration project, when you create these with Django Django the way we just did here, and it was done in a previous tutorial. They're always this configuration directory is always going to have the same name as the project itself. And for most people, that's not a problem. Okay. But in chapter 6 of the Vincent book, that's not how he has us do it. Okay. So the name of the project and the name of the configuration directory are different. So I'm going to show you how to get that done. So for right now, I'm just going to close PyCharm. Okay. And come back to Vincent chapter 1. And we're going to see that there are two steps to this. And whether he shows you both steps, I forget. He might not really show us both steps here. But step 1 is we have to make the directory for the project. And then step 2 is that we're going to generate the Django project layout underneath from the command line. Okay? Okay. So let's go back to where we are. I'm sorry. Here we go. Okay, so we're in PyCharm projects, and if we do a dir, we're going to see that we have those first, second, and third Django projects. Okay, and let's call this next one. Let's call it Vincent style Django project. Okay, so we need a directory for it, and let's do mkdir Vincent style Django project. Okay, and do a dir, and then you can say it's right down. That was a make directory. Okay, and let's change the current directory to that. So cd, change directory, Vincent style Django project. Okay, so that's our current directory. You can tell from our prompt. Okay, and let's go back to the Vincent book and see what the command is. So this is part of Django. Okay, so Django is installed in our virtual environment, so we ought to be able to run. We type Django admin start project, and now this Django project, this becomes the name of that config directory, space, period or dot. Okay, so I'm going to type it in. So, Django hyphen admin space start project, all one word, space Django project. Okay, again, that's going to be the name of our overall project, but the config directory, space dot enter. Okay, and let's do a dir. And you can see that we've got that subdirectory, Django project. We've got manage.py, so it created the utility program. And then let's change the current directory to the sub Django project. So let's say change directory cd Django underscore project. Okay, and do a dir. And there we are. Those are the files that are in the config directory. Okay. Now, can you still work on it with PyCharm? Yeah, you can. Okay. The only reason that you need to work out here in the command line is if you do want to create one of these that's named in the Vincent style where the project name and the config directory name are not the same. Okay. So, and we've done that. So you'll have to do that at the beginning of chapter 6 in order to get the name for the project and the config directory name to be different. Because the config directory name that they use there is Django underscore project. Okay, so let's go to PyCharm. And it's taking a little bit. No, one of the things I want to point out, and I don't know if I did it in the previous tutorial, but there's this Django structure view. This is brand new. This has only been in PyCharm for about, well, less than a month now. And it's a way to navigate around your Django project. I know just very little about it because I haven't had a lot of experience with it, but I think we're going to come to like it, and we'll be learning about it um, in the spring semester 2024. And by the time I teach the course the next time, I guess I'll know all about it. Um, so here, oh, I'm sorry. Again, because this is sticky, because the Windows version of this is sticky, when you open up PyCharm, you look at the last project you had open. I don't I don't find that helpful, but that's the way it works. So click on the hamburger and say File, Open, and then we're going to look under our own ID, and then PyCharm projects, and then Vincent style Django project. Now you don't want to open that. You just want to point to the project. The project is the directory. So just highlight it and click OK. And say it's okay to trust the project and put it in this window. And here we go. Okay. Now it doesn't have an interpreter configured. Okay. Now, why's that? Well, because we didn't create it with Django and point it to the virtual M. So we're going to have to do that now. Now, where can we do that? Well, we could do it down here. You can take the place where you typically see the virtual env. Okay, you can click here and you could pick E for trainer Django course. You could do it right there. Or you could say add new interpreter, add local interpreter, and that'll get you into the dialog. And you would say conda environment, okay, and load environments, and let it do that. And then you could pick E for trainer Django course. Or, okay, we could go up to the menu, click on the hamburger, um, pick settings, okay, and then this the connection to the virtual env or the interpreter is under project. So under project, we click on Python interpreter. And again, we can do the drop down and we could pick E for trainer Django course. But let's say we couldn't see it. Okay, then we could pick add interpreter, add local interpreter. Remember on the left side, conda environment. Okay, and always good to tell it to load the environments. Okay, now it's loading. And you could take the drop down, and here we're really going to pick E for a trainer Django course. So there's a lot of places you can do that. And if you've created the project at the command line instead of from Django, uh, instead of from PyCharm. The other thing that you should check in this settings is down under languages and frameworks, you should look at Django. Okay, and again, enable Django support should be checked. This Django project root should be pointing to your project directory. Okay. Uh, Settings should be pointing to the settings.py file within your configuration directory. See, it's called Django project here. Uh, manage script should be pointing to your manage.py file within your project. The rest of these things should work. Um, and there we are. Okay, now it used to be that if you created a Django project at the command line and you came in here and you connected to your virtual env, then when you came down to the languages and frameworks and came to Django, nothing would be set. Now, just in the time since I've updated Django, this has gotten terrifically better, and I'm hoping that's going to persist. So again, we can click on OK, and you can see now we're at E4 Trainer Django course. Okay, so even though we didn't create this with Django, we created it at the command line because we wanted to do it in this kind of Vincent style where the name of the project and the name of the configuration directory are different. We can still, for instance, go to the menu, click on the hamburger and tools. And, oh, this is the case. Look at this. Run manage PyTest. That's grayed out. Look down here. There's still action down here. Now, I've talked about this in other tutorials, not I don't think this one. But this run manage PyTest is not going to light up and be clickable until everything's been loaded and resolved down here on this bottom line. Okay? And again, how quickly that happens has to do with how fast an environment you're working in. When I've had slower machines, it's taken quite a while. Okay, and it's just a matter of being patient. Okay, so as soon as this updating skeletons resolves, we should be okay. I think this is maybe a bit of the price that we're paying for having created it at the command line instead of having created it with PyCharm. All right, instead of watching paint dry, I'm going to pause and I'll come back when we're ready. Okay, we're back. And as you can see, the activity down in this lower bar has resolved. And so if we go up and click on the hamburger and tools, run manage PyTest is here. I've got to say that while you were gone there, it took me 10 minutes for this whole thing to resolve. That's it's one of the slower amounts of time that I've ever seen it take. So if you can't find run manage.pytask, the two problems that you can have are one is this hasn't resolved down here at the bottom, or if we go down to settings and uh, languages and frameworks and Django, enable Django support hasn't been turned on. Okay. And this is what really connects it up to the Django infrastructure. All right. So that had been turned on. In this case, it was all the loading skeletons and things that had to be done. Okay. So now, again, let's click on the hamburger tools, run manage .py.task, and we're just going to do a run server. And we're going to click on this. And here we go. Here's the landing page. Okay. And we're going to close that. And we're going to come back and click on the red stop button to stop the server. Okay, so let's go back to the book and make sure we've taken care of everything for chapter 1. Okay, so he talks about the development server, and he shows us the landing page or the welcome page, whatever it's called. Then he talks about some other tools that we might use, text editors, a different IDE called VS Code. I use VS Code a little bit for things other than Django. We're not going to use VS Code. There's some good coaching here on installing Git. So if you're up for installing Git, in our class, we need to have Git installed by the end of the class, but it'll be useful a lot earlier. So if you want to bite the bullet and install Git, maybe this is something you could take a look at. And that's it. Okay, now we're not going to do chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5, but there is one thing that's done in chapter 2 that we haven't done that I just want to show you how to do. Okay, and that is, let's go through this here. Initial setup. And here, create an app. So code in Django projects is arranged into these application or apps. And so you need to create apps, okay? And if you're going to do it at the command line like he does, well, you use it with one of the sub commands, manage.py. Here's one called start app. Okay, and he has us create an app called Pages. Okay, and of course he's doing it at the command line, so he has to say Python manage.py start app Pages. Okay, now could we do that? Yeah, we could. Okay, and you can even do it from inside of PyCharm by just we can close this panel and we could come over and start up the terminal. Here's the icon for the terminal on the left side. And of course you can type in, oh, it went to the manage.py thing. Let's close that. Let's try terminal again. And here it's really gone. It's really going to open a terminal for us. Okay. Okay, so we could say Python space manage.py start app Pages. Okay. And if you look up here, you'll see there's a directory for Pages. Okay, and it has all it has a skeleton version of all the files. So models.py, we open that. There's not much code in it. Views.py, we're going to learn how to populate that. There's not much code in that. But so it has actually created the the file and directory layout for the Pages app. Okay. All right. Now, I I've noticed that this new Django structure panel has a create app in it. So you would think, oh, well, great. Um, but it says there are no apps yet. So if we create one of these on our own, like we did for Pages, well, apparently this Django structure panel doesn't know about it. Okay. Well, let's click on create app. And let's create another one. Let's call it blog. Okay, and where did it create it? It created it in, I guess it created it in the manage.py panel. So again, you don't have to type in Python and manage.py. You just have to type in start app, and we're going to call this one blog, and enter. And so it created one called blog, and you can see that we know about this one. Okay, that's good. Okay. Does it know about um, does it know about Pages? No, it doesn't know about Pages. I don't know how we register this. It doesn't seem to know how to register. Okay. So from inside of Django, if you want to create an app, again, let's create another one from inside of Django. So let's open let's go up to the hamburger tools, run manage.py tasks, and then let's do another one. Type in start app, and let's call this one, mm, um, what are we going to call it? Let's call it course info. That's what we call the app when we get to the Easy University application. Okay, so let's enter that. And it created course info. And it knows about course info too. So certainly these things that we create in here using the manage.py app, um, it knows to put them in the Django structure. But if we create them at the command line, like we did for Pages, somehow it doesn't get registered with this tool. There's probably a way to register it. I just don't know how to do it. Okay, so those are what apps are and how to create them. All right, so that I think that's enough to keep you busy for a while. Again, to get back to how to work with this Vincent book, um, we did chapter one together and maybe a little bit of chapter two here. Okay. If we go back to the table of contents, chapter 6 is the one that you're going to have as a hand-in assignment. Okay. 2, 3, 4, and 5, you'd probably get something out of doing a couple of those. Do you have to do all 2, 3, 4, and 5 to get the benefit? No, probably not. But I think I personally did at least 2 and 3, if not 4. Okay. But I've left this here so you can do as much of that as you want, and also you can see um, how to do things from the Vincent book using our tool set instead of the tool set that he's kind of demonstrating in the book, which is pretty much all working at the command line. So I'm going to leave you to it and say bye until next time. Bye bye.